Both presidents have used them a lot. Let's move on to this. You have been vocal in your support for Minnesota Congressman, the freshman Representative Ilhan Omar, after the fallout over her anti-Semitic tweets. I know you don't agree with her statements, but here's what you said in her defense. She's a freshman, she's new here, she's young. I think she has learned a painful lesson. But her first anti-Semitic trope dates back 7 years, Congressman, to 2012, when she said that Israel had hypnotized the world, and she talked about the evil doings of Israel.
Are you asking me a question?
I am. I guess you're saying she's young. You know,
well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is you want.
She's a member of. So my question is,
you want me?
I'd like to understand. She's a member of Congress, and this isn't a new statement. This is a series of statements that is deeply offensive to many Jewish Americans, many Americans, and I'm wondering if you're concerned about how far back it goes.
I am. I am concerned that anyone with a history of anti-Semitism, frankly, needs to confront their own words and understand their impact. And obviously, we also need to understand the mindset behind it. But I stand by what I said. She is young. She is new. And she is now a member of Congress. She was, a young citizen before that. That doesn't excuse those words, but it puts it in somewhat of a context. I will say this, Poppy. Sure. I don't understand why this is still a 3 or 4 day story, but given all the other things we're dealing with. But
really,
since
I mean,
she
sits.
Well,
let me explain why.
If I could finish my statement. Sure. If I could finish my statement. Sure. So it's a 4-day story because of fascination with this. But she's apologized. She was condemned by Democratic leadership, her words, and she apologized unequivocally. Meanwhile, we have the contrast on the Republican side of a president. Where does one even begin to talk about hateful speech with him? He's got mega rallies that in many cases are overtly anti-Semitic. We have remarks that were anti-Semitic code by the Republican leader here in the House. We have a 17-year history of Steve King and racist remarks, and there was absolute silence on the Republican side of the aisle until recently.
So Steve King,
why the double standard? Why the double standard between a young Muslim woman and all of this other history?
I hear you. You should watch Jake Tapper's show from last night when he laid it all out there, and we're talking about that. But because she is on the Foreign Affairs Committee with you and she's a fellow Democrat, I have a few questions for you on that. Given the inexperience that you cite as part of the reason you think that she not only wrote this in 2012, but also wrote It's All About the Benjamins, talking about why Republicans have AIPAC support just, a week ago, do you think she should remain on the House Foreign Affairs Committee?
Well, she just got there. She hasn't had much opportunity yet to sort of learn the ropes. I think there's an opportunity for her to learn a lot and to start to maybe temper the views she came to Congress and this committee with. I don't know that this one outburst and that history you cite is enough to disqualify her from being on the Foreign Affairs Committee, but it's certainly something to be watched, and hopefully she can be mentored.
So let me ask you about that, because it was less than a month ago when she was on the show with us, when we asked her about those comments, and she said, quote, "I don't know how my comments would be offensive to Jewish Americans." That was on January 17th, when she was a member of Congress already. Does that concern you?
Yeah, it concerns me, but I think she's certainly learned her lesson since. She now does understand how those comments are not only offensive to Jewish Americans, but to all Americans. I'm not Jewish, but I will tell you those remarks are very offensive to me too.
Yeah, I understand that. And finally, because you represent the state of Virginia, embattled Virginia Governor Ralph Northam was young and not in politics when it's alleged that he took that photo of someone in blackface when it's alleged he was in the photo of someone in blackface and in a KKK hat. He apologized. You told Anderson Cooper earlier this month that despite that apology, his ability to govern is non-existent. Is it a double standard then for him? You
No,
say
I
he
don't think
can't
so.
govern because of actions when he was young and not in politics versus you saying let's give Representative Omar a chance here?
I think that's really a false equivalency, Poppy. He's the chief executive of the Commonwealth of Virginia. The question for him is, can you govern after this kind of really maladroit management of a terrible incident, right? You know, who will campaign with you? Who will want to be seen with you? He's already had multiple public invitations rescinded by public universities and other institutions around the Commonwealth as the governor because they don't want him there. And so I think his moral